Well, hello once again, Auburn friends, Auburn fans, Auburn family. Thanks for tuning in to the Everything Auburn podcast, where we talk about everything Auburn, and we find the Auburn in everything. I'm Jeremy Henderson, a senior manager of editorial and media relations, 18 syllables of excellence. The man to my left needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. Chairman of the board, I call him, because the levels go up, the knobs go down, but the quality remains the same. Marcus Klutz. Assistant director of media production. Some of us senior managers, some assistant directors. We talk about finding the everything in Auburn, and it's not hard to find the Auburn in this building. I think you know what I'm talking about. Sanford Hall, Team Tower. Last episode, we went with a man named Alex Golish, and the chairman and I were talking. We're like, why settle? Why we can go higher, as in like one floor above us. Christopher B. Roberts, President Roberts, a man, you talk about a man who needs no introduction because he's been here for, more than 30 years?
A little more than 30.
More than 30 years now. And but we've been president, we've been dean, we've been a researcher, a faculty member. Anyway, I want to be talking about the journey you getting here, the values, the leadership, and why after 3 decades, number one, you're still here, but you're still believing in Auburn. It's one of the most extraordinary experiences in higher education. And I don't know, right now, it's a great time to be an Auburn Tiger. So welcome. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate being here. And thank you both for having me here today. And I hope to share a few things with you.
Well, is the commencement thing true? I mean,
I love it.
You do. I mean, you do it a lot. I would think that would be, I imagine the job. You got a lot of obligations. You got a lot of things you go to. And of course, you might think that you've seen one commencement, you've seen them all, but you talk about it still being special.
Yeah. I never tire of graduation and the commencement ceremonies. There's just so many joyous things that are taking place at graduation, but I always find myself thinking about the journey that brought each and every student to that moment. Every graduate has a different story. I often talk about this beautiful tapestry that we have here at Auburn, and behind every student's a family that sacrificed and encouraged and believed in them. Seeing those moments reminds me of why our work really matters, and it reminds me of my own journey, frankly. None of us gets where we are alone.
No.
And there are people who encourage us and challenge us and open doors that we never expected. And when I think about my own path, that's exactly where my story begins. And so I enjoy graduation, recognizing everything that went in to get to that moment, and then the future that it represents for all of those students as they spill off of our campus and make a difference in the society.
So is that what's going through your mind? Do you ever lock eyes with someone and you're like this is why I'm doing this? You look out there.
Yeah, you can see it on their faces, and especially on their parents' faces.
Right.
And it's something I never tire of.
Well, that journey begins with the parents. What about your parents? Did they help you?
Well,
they proud of you?
If I think about the people that shaped me the most, it was my parents and my grandparents, to be honest with you, and my little brother Steve as well. They all taught me that hard work and personal character and care for others is what really matters. And it's through those attributes that I think you're able to achieve things. While I'd say we certainly weren't wealthy when I was a kid, it was clear to me that they believed fully in education and the opportunities it created, and that if you work hard and you're humble and you carry integrity through your life, you'll achieve good things.
We're talking about turning points and defining moments. You've got the your parents obviously instilling values, but so the next. Why engineering? What was the next? Why did you pursue academia?
Honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to pursue, and I have a heart for students that are seeking what is the right major for them on campus. Like a lot of students, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do when a chemistry professor encouraged me to pursue engineering. He pulled me aside. He didn't have to have that conversation. It was a very simple and direct conversation, but it really changed the trajectory of my life because this professor saw something in me that inspired me, and he took an interest. And so years later, after becoming a professor myself, I realized how powerful those moments can be, those simple moments. And that's why I've always believed that universities are ultimately about people. You know, our research matters and our facilities matter, but it's really about changing the lives of people. And so frankly, I've spent my entire career trying to ensure that those special moments, like that one that my professor had with me that really encouraged me, I've been working hard to try to make sure those are replicated on this campus every day.
And it shows. I mean, it shows not only in what you, what you do, the way you talk about it, the way that you lead. I mean, the best student experience in the nation. And did you know, like in the moment, that this was like a defining, like kind of like a turning point for you? Or is it looking back that you were like, oh, well, that was it? Or right then and there were you like, oh my gosh? Well,
my professors at Missouri are the ones that really inspired me towards chemical engineering. And when I went to Notre Dame to pursue my PhD, I was so interested in research. I hadn't really thought real hard about what I was going to use it for. It's a really special time, I think, for a graduate student where you really get to focus, dive deep into a technology or a fundamental science. And so I really enjoyed focusing on the knowledge that I was taking in and the discoveries that we were involved in. I hadn't really thought until about my second or third year of graduate school what I was going to use it for. But my professors at Notre Dame were so inspiring in terms of how passionate they were simultaneously about research and then their commitment to education that really inspired me to be a professor and pursue that.
How did Auburn even get on your radar?
Well, interestingly, my little brother Steve was at Florida State and he knew a little something about Auburn. And so he's the one that actually encouraged me to apply for a faculty position. He knew about it and suggested it. And so when I arrived on campus, after having interviewed at other institutions as well, I thought I was going to learn more about the job, like I had on every other interview. But instead, what I found was a community that immediately felt different to me. The people were authentic, they were welcoming, they were deeply committed to this place. That really resonated with me. And so during the interview, a man named Bob Chambers, who was a department chair, who we lost here recently, he was a real inspiration to me as well. He handed me a copy of the Auburn Creed. And at that point, it was kind of game on. It was clear to me that this is where I wanted to be.
That is such a cool story. Like it just is. I mean, I don't know, because it's nice. You work on campus, you see the creed everywhere, and it's easy to almost kind of just take it for granted a little bit. But to see somebody back, and what year was that?
Well, that would have been 93.
93.
The year before I started. I started in 94. And, him handing me that document was a pretty profound impact. I sat in the hotel room that night after he handed it to me, and I read the creed from the beginning to the end. And what struck me was that it wasn't simply what it said. It was that it was a clearly stated set of values at a big-time public university. It was a definition of a community who clearly knew who they were. And, I had already seen that in the values, those values reflected in the people that I had been meeting with through the course of the interview. So, upon reading it, I call my dad. I use the house phone over at the hotel.
Right.
That was back in the day when they had house phones. Mm-hmm. And I called him Collect, and I told him I found the university I wanted to spend my career at.
You called him Collect.
I did. Right. You haven't lived until you stand on the concourse and explain Collect calls to students.
Right.
It's really, really interesting. Call waiting, the whole thing.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, but anyway, he immediately asked me how much was I going to get paid, and I'm like, Dad, I don't have the offer yet, but I'm going to work really hard. But that's something I hear from people today is that the place just felt right. It just felt right, and I had no idea that one day I'd end up becoming president. I simply knew that I found a place whose values matched my own.
That was 93. You came in 94. We're here in 2026. So looking back, I mean, what made you still want to be here? I mean, as awesome as the place is, sometimes people get that wandering eye.
I think through every chapter, I kind of view my career here as a set of chapters. Through every chapter, that first impression's been reinforced. It really has. I've had the opportunity to serve Auburn in a bunch of different roles, but the mission has remained the same, and helping students to discover their potential and preparing them to have a positive difference on other people, that's remained the same throughout. And, frankly, that's what the Auburn family means to me. It's not simply a school spirit. It's a culture of people who genuinely care to invest in one another. And once you've experienced it, it's really hard to imagine calling anywhere else home, at least for me.
Sure.
And so that's kept me inspired all the way through.
Sure.
I'm all the more enthusiastic about it now than I was when I walked on campus that first time in '93.
Well, I know it probably, it probably feels the same, but Lord knows it. It looks different. Does it feel different a little bit than when you got here as a young professor?
Yes and no. I think, aesthetically, it's changed. And frankly, I think really improved. I think we have an absolutely beautiful campus. But those fundamental things haven't really changed. One of the greatest privileges I have as serving as president is to be able to see campus through so many different perspectives. As a young faculty member, my world centered on my students and my classroom and my research and my colleagues there in the department. But today, when I walk across the campus, I see the entire university in motion. You see students who are discovering opportunities they didn't realize were there.
Sure.
We see faculty members who are tackling challenges that really improve people's lives. And those effects are all around the world. And I see staff members who are quietly making thousands of experiences for these students, exceptional experiences, possible every day. So, and then beyond campus, I get a chance to meet with our alumni who are making a difference in the communities they serve or the companies they run. And all across the country, I'm just constantly reminded. One of my favorite things to do when I'm coming back from a trip from some of our alumni is to reflect on the fact that the next generation of that person is on our campus right now.
Yeah.
And I often will think about what they explain to me as their experiences through those conversations when I meet with alumni.
Right.
And then I challenge us to think about, are we putting the right things in place for that person to be successful on our campus today? They take a lot of different paths here, but I'm convinced that they're all leaving prepared to make a meaningful impact. And so most of all, what I see when I walk across campus is momentum. I really do. Auburn's continued to grow in excellence, and we remain very true to our values. And that's something I'm incredibly proud of.
And that's what we need, momentum. See, that was a good momentum. I like it. Every day I walk out and I look at your amazing parking spot and everything, and I'm wondering, what is this man thinking on his way home? So is there a day recently that you've gotten in the car and you're driving? Well, I guess it's not a long drive, is it?
It's not a long drive.
No, it's not a long drive. Okay, well, when you in the 30 seconds between going home, when you're like, yes, this is why I'm doing this job. This is why I love this job.
Interestingly, that happens a lot. That happens just every day. Something happens that either I didn't know about this place or something that just really connected with me in the moment, inspires me. Sometimes it's when I'm visiting a research lab where some faculty or students are solving a problem that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm glad somebody's really working on that. Other times it's when I'm talking to students that tell me about a mentor, that a conversation like the one I had with my professor that helped them with their confidence or helped them discover, a career path they hadn't even thought about. And then there are commencement days, as we talked about, watching graduates celebrate with their families. That never gets old. Those moments remind me that when, behind every degree, there's a story, perseverance, sacrifice, and possibility. So they remind me as to why Auburn's commitment to providing the best student-centered experience is so vitally important. And I'm really proud of the fact that that's the number one thing in our strategic plan, is to ensure that those learning experiences are exceptional on this campus.
When future generations look back on this particular period in Auburn history, the 2020s, what do you hope? What do you hope that they'll say?
Well, I hope they say this was a time when Auburn built on its strengths while staying true to its character. Universities don't become great because of one president or one strategic plan. They become great because generation after generation chooses to leave the institution stronger than they found it.
You could have fooled me. You're doing a good job.
Well, we're building on the strengths and the platform that folks that came before us built. And if people look back and believe that we expanded those opportunities even further for students or further strengthened the research enterprise, that we served the the state of Alabama well and preserve the values that define Auburn, I'd consider that a pretty meaningful legacy.
And again, I'm going to come back to commencement. They're in there. They're in Neville Arena. They're about to leave. They're starting the next chapter of their lives. Yours is the last voice. I mean, really, they hear before entering the real world. I mean, is it not? Do you say the last thing?
I suppose I do.
That's it. And all of a sudden, boom, it's over. Real world. So, I mean, what are you thinking as they're walking away? I mean, I know we touched a little bit on it but as you know, that transition, like right then and there. Yeah. What do you?
Well, I hope it's a mixture of pride and gratitude and hope. Frankly, each graduate arrived at Auburn with different dreams and different challenges, and watching them leave with greater confidence and new knowledge and lifelong friendships is a pretty rewarding thing. And what stays with me most, though, is knowing that Auburn's impact for them does not end at graduation. It's really where it begins. Those graduates are going to leave here and they're going to become teachers and veterinarians and filmmakers and physicians and engineers.
And philosophers, in my case.
And philosophers and accountants. But they're also going to be members of their community and members of their church and serve on civic boards and integrate into this, their society. And so what I hope is that that they recognize that from their Auburn education, they can really strengthen communities all over Alabama and all over the world. And that's why, when I look at graduation, you were asking me before about why I'm so enthusiastic about it. It really represents a beginning. And not an end. And I'm just fascinated with the possibilities that occur as those kids walk across that stage.
Yeah. The world they're going to inherit, though, I mean, like I said, it's changing. It's changing faster really than anything before. I mean, when you look at like just where we've just in recent years and just, again, technology and the entire landscape, whole industries are getting, changed and everything. So, I mean, what's going to give you the confidence that we're preparing them, that they're going to be ready for this?
I've had all kinds of people, we worry about the future. And I tell them, if you spend a few hours on campus with some of our students, and you're going to feel really good about our future. This is a brilliant cohort of students who have tremendous curiosity. I'm really encouraged by their curiosity. They're eager to learn, and they're willing to collaborate, and they're genuinely interested in making a positive difference, and they're fearless. We talk about a spirit that's not afraid around here, and they sure are when it comes to technology, when it comes to what's coming down the pike. I find they ask really good questions about that, and they're not afraid to tackle hard problems and to use the new tools to do so. And so I don't think our responsibility is simply to prepare them for their first job. I think our responsibility is to prepare them for a lifetime of learning and leadership and service and to do that in a world that they know is going to continue to change. And I believe Auburn graduates are exceptionally well prepared to do that.
If we're known for anything, and this is, I think, part of what people think is so special about Auburn. I know it's what Coach Golish was kind of talking about, with what he noticed is how much the alumni are invested and love the place, and how much they want you to love the place. A lot of I don't think many. There's some universities that's maybe I think Auburn's a little different and distinct along those lines.
I do too. I think the greatest strength. Probably the greatest strength of this university is our alumni base. Yeah. They stay very connected to us because Auburn had a really lasting impact on their life, and frankly, they want future generations to have the same opportunities. So they're very vested in the future of Auburn, and and they give back. They give back in countless ways. They mentor students. They create internships and career opportunities, and they support our scholarships and support our programs with their time, talent, and treasure.
Come back as senior manager of editorial and media relations. Lord.
That's right. It's amazing how, they always joke that you spend 4 years trying to get out and your whole life trying to come back. And, and that commitment reflects what Auburn really meant to them and their families. And so when we look ahead, I think our partnership with our alumni is going to be ever more important. We have tremendous momentum right now at Auburn, and our aspirations are even higher. And so the engagement of our alumni base, the generosity of our alumni and friends, that's going to help us create new opportunities as we pursue our next goals. And so,
Sure.
I often say that every generation here on campus has a responsibility to leave Auburn stronger than we found it. And I find that our alumni embrace that responsibility. They do it every day. I see it through their dedication, and it gives me a lot of confidence in Auburn's future. If you can't tell, I'm pretty excited about what we'll accomplish together going forward.
No, I can see it in your eyes when it is in the history book. So what do you hope people remember the most?
I hope people find that we stayed focused on what really matters, and it's that value set that I talked about. I hope they see a university that invested in students, expanded opportunities for our research, but did that in the spirit of strengthening our land grant mission. And, we're working hard to build a culture where people genuinely care for one another. No president does that alone. Universities move forward because thousands of people share a common purpose. And so if I played some part in helping Auburn become stronger for the next generation, that would be enough for me.
Awesome. See, there you go, talking about how everybody, like, oh, well, this came before me, and then you just lay it out there just like that. I love it. I don't know. This is sincere. As an alumnus, as a former student, everything, I just really appreciate, the vision and the way you articulate it.
I appreciate you too, Jeremy.
I'm totally for real. Like I said back in the installation, and I keep going back to that, but you got up there and, of course we got to be there and we got to support and, let's clap along and everything. But I was genuinely, I was not expecting to leave with my, head a little higher from being a graduate and being working here.
I have to tell you, I was really nervous on that day, and I'm nervous sitting here with you right now.
You nailed it. You nailed it then. You're nailing it now. So, okay. Do we have any time for some maybe a little lightning round, some quick, quick answers? I'm just joking. So lightning round. Okay. So we took a little poll. We polled the team tower here, as I call us. Okay. Favorite view on Auburn's campus?
Favorite view.
You got a good one right now.
I would have to say from the sidewalks in our historic district. As you're walking around Sanford Hall and Langdon Hall and Hargis Hall,
yep.
that is just
that's the postcard.
It's iconic. But I'd also say probably the view from any of our concourses, and what that does is it allows you to see the beautiful buildings, but also it allows you to really see life on campus. And I find that pretty inspiring. I walk down any concourse on campus. I find it pretty inspiring.
Awesome. All right. Good answer. All right. Next. Which tradition best captures the spirit? Now, don't do this whole, well, they all do.
Well, I bet that's
you have a favorite.
Oh, my gosh. So if best, I'd have to go with Rolling Tumors Corner after a victory.
Valid.
It's a celebration that brings generations of people together. So
definitely.
That one's amazing. But as you noted, it's really hard to beat the Eagle Flight, Jordan Hare. It's hard to beat Heyday on the concourse. Mm-hmm. Even a simple War Eagle greeting when you don't count on it. There are countless. That's a tough question.
All right. Okay. What's something, I like it. Good answer. What's something about Auburn people that folks outside the family don't fully understand?
I would say just how genuine the relationships are here at Auburn. I think you have to experience it to fully appreciate it.
One Auburn moment you will never forget.
Meeting Tracy here on campus.
It was here?
Yes, and it was pretty magical.
Oh, man. I didn't know it was here.
Yeah.
That's wild. Okay. I don't know why I didn't. I guess I should have known that. Well, okay. No, good answer. Great answer. Okay. Maybe we've already covered this. Favorite place to walk?
Yeah, my favorite place to walk is in Ross Square, right behind Sanford Hall, in front of Ross Hall. It's where I used to take walks when I was an assistant chemical engineering professor, and when I needed to figure out a problem or I just needed a minute with a graduate student to think, we would walk around Ross Square. And so when I'm struggling with something now, I love to just walk around Ross Square. It's kind of my happy spot.
Walking Ross like a boss. Love it. Okay. What book, let's say, has influenced your leadership?
Wow, that's a tough one too. I'd have to say Good to Great by Jim Collins. That's really stayed with me over the years. I've reflected on it a lot. Plus, I like the fact that it highlights an Auburn man, John Brown, who was the CEO of Stryker. Really tremendous leader, and he's one of the thematic characters in that Good to Great. How
cool.
book.
I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. Man, yeah, that's some Good to Greatness definitely right there. Okay, the most unique or furthest, let's say, place from Auburn where you've gotten a War Eagle?
Oh, Singapore. Would be the furthest place, though I would say that the one I got in Tuscaloosa was probably the most surprising.
Sure. Yeah. They're not, yeah, no, that would be. It's Singapore. Poor Eagle. Like that one. That's good. If you weren't doing this job, if you weren't upstairs, if you weren't in higher education, what would you be doing? What career would you have pursued? I think I know the answer from everything I've been told.
What's your guess?
I'd have to go with you'd be wielding that axe.
Yeah,
rock star.
Yeah, absolutely. What I would have needed to pursue and what I would have wanted to pursue are two different things. Right. But what I would have wanted to pursue would be Steely Dan's guitar player.
Awesome. I think you could have done it.
Unfortunately, that wasn't in the cards due to lack of genuine talent.
I mean, you can play though, right?
I can play.
Do you still pick it up? I mean, how often?
Not very often.
Not very often.
Yeah.
All right. Well, every now I want to hear a little. I mean, especially maybe during the Eagle flight or something as we're leading up. I want to hear a little Freebird, just every now, just wafting through the rafters. The air ducts and everything. I'll be like, there he is.
You're a funny guy.
It's coming back to him. Okay, if you weren't president for one day and had to do another job on campus, what would it be?
Oh, I think I'd enjoy being part of the landscaping team.
Oh, good.
I love watching those guys beautify this campus, and they take tremendous pride in their work, and they should. They create a campus that's beautiful year round, and it makes a lasting impression on our students and families, and it's something I really appreciate. Every time I'm walking across campus and I see them working so hard, I would just like to go over and spend a couple hours with them.
What about growing up? I mean, you were in the high school in the 80s.
Yeah, it's funny that you're asking me about growing up in the 80s. In fact, I was delighted that last week my high school football coach came here.
Really?
His granddaughter is a graduate student in the agriculture college.
Get out of town.
And he reached out to me. I haven't seen Coach Sumner in a long time. And, while I grew up in my dad's music store and music was everything to us, we were in a small Catholic school in southern Missouri, right along the Mississippi River. And football was a big deal to us.
Did you carry the rock? Did you tote that rock?
No. I was an offensive lineman.
But you played? How cool! I didn't know. Did anybody know that?
Yeah, it was a tiny little school. It was a tiny little Catholic school, and we had a pretty good football team. And so we played for a couple state championships while I was there, and won a couple of them.
Are you kidding?
And yeah, it was great. It was great
state.
fun.
You're a Missouri State.
Well, I was on the team.
You were on the team, but that counts. That counts. Is there a good game that stands out for you? I mean, one that you were like.
Well, our crosstown
Roberts.
Our crosstown rivalry was the public school in town, St. Genevieve, and so it's this idea of a hard-fought rivalry is not foreign to me.
Sure.
I grew up.
So what was the name of the school?
Valley Catholic.
Valley Catholic. And what were y'all? The Fighting?
We were the Warriors.
The Warriors. Yeah, all right. That's right. In 3 words, what does Auburn family mean to you?
It means everything.
Dang, that was good. That was like a haiku level kind of stuff. It means everything. That's 3 words. I was thinking I don't know, spirit, period. Devotion. No. It means everything. I love it. Well, I have one more.
Okay.
So it's all this Christopher B. Roberts.
Yeah.
What's the B stand for?
Brian.
Yeah,
Brian. And I always use Christopher B because my name's a pretty popular name.
Sure.
The year I was born, Christopher was a super popular name. My understanding is that had something to do with the book Winnie the Pooh being so popular.
Nice.
And Roberts is a pretty popular name. And so I try to use the often I try to use the whole name just because I've met so many Chris Roberts. In fact, for a number of years on campus, there were other Chris Roberts on campus. I suspect there are today. And emails that were intended for me as Dean of Engineering would often get sent to students. And so we had a little arrangement that they would forward to them to me, and then later in the year they'd come over and have coffee and we'd talk about it.
I have to confess though, I actually knew that answer because I Googled around, but because it's on your research papers. I think Brian.
Yeah, it's
you went with Brian on a lot of your research papers.
Yeah, some of the research journals ask for your full name, and so
gotcha.
So some of my papers have Brian on.
Love it. All right. Well, President Roberts, cannot thank you enough for taking the time to join us. I'm going to have to kick you out so you can get back to leading this university and in new ways.
Well, listen, Jeremy, Marcus, thank you so much for having me here and spending a little bit of time with you. I really appreciate what you guys do.
Well, thank you.
And I appreciate what what everybody in this communications team is doing to promote the good work on campus. So often I think we're the best kept secret in higher education. And the fact of the matter is this is a remarkable university. We have tremendous potential for greatness. And it's through this Auburn family that we're going to lead in higher education. I'm convinced of it. I really believe that the future of higher education goes through hardworking land-grant universities like ours. And I'm proud of the fact that we're in a real leadership role based on our performance. And you guys helping us get the word out about that is really, really helpful. I know the Auburn family will appreciate it.
And that's the confidence and conviction that makes it an honor and a pleasure to work for that vision, to serve it. War Eagle.